Good afternoon. Today we are going to start a new topic in plant tissue culture and biotechnology, and we will start plant cell tissue and organ culture. So in this topic we will able to learn what is basics of the plant cell tissues and organ culture and how we can initiate and start the plant cells and tissues in the in vitro condition so that we can utilize these cultures for the various application of the plant tissue culture. So before starting we should understand what is plant tissue culture. So when we are culturing any part of the plant which we can able to culture in vitro condition, and when we are culturing into the artificial media under aseptic condition, we are calling plant tissue culture. So basically when we are taking any part like leaf or stem or root or any plant part, part, we can able to culture inside the in vitro condition, and we are utilizing the aseptic condition of the laboratory so that that plant can able to grow into the a healthy plant. So basically if we are taking the a single cell, from single cell we can able to generate multiple cells. So a single cell can able to propagate as a multiple cell, and we are calling propagation of the plant in using the in vitro condition. So plant cells, basically plant tissue culture we are doing inside the laboratory condition only. So various methods we know till date to propagate these plant tissues and cells inside the laboratory condition, and just we have to maintain the aseptic condition inside the tissue culture laboratory, and we have to provide the growth conditions. So two things is there, we have to provide the growth condition like media, physical and chemical environment, and we have to maintain the aseptic condition inside the lab so that these plants can able to grow nicely. So before starting the plant tissue culture, we have to understand the concept of totipotency. So plant cells, basically they are 100% totipotent. Means a single plant cell can able to propagate as an entire plant or full body of the plant. So we can able to generate from a single cell to multiple numbers of the cells, and then those multiple numbers of cell can able to generate many plants. So from single cells we can able to produce many cells. When they will divide, we can get the many numbers of the cells, and those cells can able to produce many plants. So this property of the plant cell we are calling totipotency. This property is very important property of the plant cell, since we can able we required material only one cell, minimum one cell we require. If our cell is healthy and without infection, then we can able to generate as much as many as plants we can able to produce. Now if you will compare plant cell and animal cells, the animal cell, apart from the stem cells, if you will leave the stem cells, so stem cells have totipotency, and these plant cells compared to stem cells and they are totipotency. But other animal cells, they don't have any type of totipotency. But nowadays, very latest research is going on. We can induce the totipotency in the many uh, animal cells also. Then they can able to convert into the stem cells, and they can able to convert into other type of cells and tissues. So the ability of a cell to differentiate and develop into the whole cell, the ability of a single cell of the plant can able to differentiate into the whole cell when we will give a correct environmental condition, chemical condition, and aseptic condition. So when we are providing aseptic condition and the media, correct media, which will help the plant cell to grow properly, and the growth and development it will achieve, and it will grow as a complete plant. So this is because every cell has the genetic potential of a parent cell, so that it can able to divide, and after the multiplication it can able to produce a healthy plant. So if you will see virtually A plant cell we can take from any part of the cells. If plant cells, you can take any part of the plant. So you can take from the root, you can take from the shoot, you can take that cell in the any part. So if you will take the cells, it can able to either produce tissues or you can able to generate callus. And from the tissues, you can able to produce the plant organ, and that plant organ can able to produce a healthy plant. So callus also you can able to produce from the plant cells, and that callus can able to convert into the embryos, and from embryos you can able to generate the new plants. And it is also interchangeable. From callus you can able to produce plant organ, and from plant organ you can generate new plant, and tissues, from tissues also you can produce embryo. So it is interchangeable things. So from tissues to embryo or plant organ, or callus to plant organ or embryo, both you can able to produce, so that you can able to produce a new healthy plant. Now, some the terminology we are going to use in plant tissue culture, that in every topic we will use this terminology. So before using this terminology, we have to learn what is the meaning of these terms. So first term is explant. A explant can be any part of plants we are taking for the culturing purpose. It may be a leaf portion, it may be a apical bud, it may be a part of the stem, any part of the stem. It may be a root portion. It may be a meristematic tissues present in the apical node or apical bud. So whatever parts we are taking for the culturing purpose, we are calling uh, explant. So it is a living part, because plant is living. So living tissues or cells, when we are utilizing for plant tissue purpose, or when we are growing inside the in vitro condition and artificial on the artificial media and providing aseptic condition, we are calling explant. So the part which we can utilize for the tissue culture purpose, we are calling explant. So it can be any portion of the plant. It is not restricted that only leaf you have to choose. It is not restricted you have to choose any part. You can virtually you can take any part of the plant which can able to propagate as a X, which can able to produce as a whole plant. So another term is in vitro. In vitro, it is a basically a Latin word which is actual meaning is within the glass. So when we are taking the any plant tissues, and when we are culturing these cells and tissues or organ or explant inside the glasswares, and we are culturing using media and aseptic condition, we are calling in vitro condition. So when we are culturing plant cells, tissues, organ, or any part inside the glass and on the media, we are calling in vitro culture. And in vivo is another term where we are doing experiment inside the animal. So inside the animal we are injecting some drug, so we are calling in vivo or in vivo characterization on the animal. So in vivo when we are doing experiment on the animal, and in vitro when we are using glasswares, laboratory glassware. So performing an experiment inside the test tube, we are calling in vitro culture. So all type of culture, including animal cell and in vitro fertilization, like we are doing inside the glasswares. Or so nowadays plastic wares also we can utilize, because this type of plastic is non-toxic type of plastic, and these non-toxic plastic can be autoclave also. So when you will do autoclave many times, and reusable type, just you have to use again and again, and just you can do autoclave. So autoclavable plastics is available, and definitely borosilicate glasswares also we are using, because these borosilicate glassware can able to survive on the high temperature. When we are autoclaving, temperature will go up to 121 degrees centigrade, and when we are giving heat in the laminar airflow bench for killing the microorganisms present on the glasswares, so that the glassware should not crack. If you are using a normal glass, so it will crack when you are putting those glasswares in on the high temperature. So when you are culturing these inside the in vitro condition, so the glasswares should be borosilicates, and plasticware they should be heat liable up to 121 degree centigrade, and they should not damage on the 120 or 130 degree centigrade. And we are not doing heating in the laminar flow when we are using the plastic waste. So all type of culture including animal cell and any type of culture when we are culturing inside the glassware we are calling the in vitro culture. Next is tissue culture. So when we are culturing a tissues or a bunch of cells, we are calling tissue culture. And same environment, controlled environment, we are providing and different type of media for the growth purpose, growth and development purpose. We are putting on the media and giving the sterile condition. So this type of culture we are calling tissue culture. So undifferentiated plant cells also a tissue. Plant callus is a tissue, and tissues of any like a root tissues, shoot tissues, and leaf tissue also we can able to culture in on the in vitro condition. So these terminology is there. Next technical term is there which will have a technique, and this term is micropropagation. So when we are take a very small portion of a explant from the plant, and this explant can be a in the micrometer diameter. So the portion which is in the diameter of micrometer, and when we start to do the micropropagation, this micropropagation can able to grow into the tissues to organ to a healthy plant, or we can able to propagate direct and indirect type. And when we are talking about the method of the micropropagation, these this micropropagation is depend on two types. So direct micropropagation also you can do, and indirect micropropagation also do. So when you are taking a cells or tissues, and these tissues can able to direct regenerate as a whole plant. So we are calling direct micropropagation because in between there is no another stage is there. But if you are propagating as a tissue, and from tissues you are generating callus, and that callus can able to produce multiple shoots and then root, and then you can able to harden it as a healthy plants. So that we are calling indirect method of micropropagation. So in the indirect method, we in between we have callus, so that we can able to produce the micropropagation. Now we can take as a many type of explant we can take. There is no restriction. You can take any type of explant like apical bud you can do. You can take and axillary bud also you can take, and meristematic tissues you can take. So if you are producing disease free plant and any bacterial infection free plant, so you have to take the meristematic tissues. Now our question is that why we have to choose the meristematic cells. Meristematic cells we are choosing because it don't have any type of infection. No virus infection is there, or bacterial fungi infection it will be there, because their growth is so fast that the cells is growing very fast, and it don't have any viral infection, and microbes infection will not be there. So usually the method used by commercial tissue culture laboratories is micropropagation to produce the uh, from one portion of the explant to many millions number of the plant. So from a single cell we can able to generate billions of plant in some time. And you can choose shoot or root any plant part of the plant, and you can genetically identical. And because we are propagating a single cell, and from single cell millions of plants you are producing. So the plants can be a copy of the mm, many mother cell. So if a genetic organization of all plant is same, so we are calling which is a clone type of cell plant. So cloning Through cloning, we can also produce, and we have to use the micropropagation in plant tissue culture. Nowadays, tissue culture in vitro culture and micropropagation are sometimes used interchangeably. So we are doing so much micropropagation so that we are calling micropropagation as a in vitro culture of plant cells and tissues, and tissue culture also we are calling. Then some basic terms also there, like mother plant. The explant we are taking and from the a plant, that plant we are calling mother plant, which is donating the cells or tissues for the in vitro plant tissue culture. Then ex vitro and in vivo is there. In vivo we already discussed. Then competent cells. Competent cells are those cells which can able to absorb the foreign DNA, or they can able to infect with the foreign bacterial particle or fungi particle. So they can take up the infection very easily. Some cell, they can't take the infection from the viruses because they are not competent of the infection. So these cells which can able to take up the viral infection and they can be infected very easily by the viruses, we are calling competent cells. So these are all terminology is there and we will use throughout these course. Various pathways for plant regeneration. Now we are doing differentiation, induction, and realization. So how these things we are using in plant tissue culture. So first we have to take the aseptic explant. Aseptic explant culture we can do using the organ and tissue culture. When we are doing organ and tissue culture, and we can able to see the competent cell, and these competent cell can be determined the what type of cells we can able to produce, like direct regeneration we can do. And for when we are doing direct regeneration, in between organ can able to produce or embryo can able to produce. So direct cell too we can able to produce organs, so we are calling organogenesis. When from the competent cell we are producing embryos, so we are calling embryogenesis. So from a competent cells, if we can able to produce organs, so organogenesis is there, and from direct competent cell too we can also able to produce embryogenesis. So another thing is there, we can aseptic tissue culture or organ culture we can able to produce the callus. This callus can be again and again subculture so that we have enough amount of callus in the laboratory. Then we can either produce direct routing or we can able to produce routing. But normally we are not producing routing first. What we are doing, we are producing shooting. But if you are growing secondary metabolite from the root, then you can able to produce rooting from the callus, and then you have to culture the roots in the media so that you can able to produce secondary metabolites in the fermenter. But if you are producing the plants from the callus, so first you have to do shooting, then you have to grow on the rooting media so that shoots can able to have roots. Okay, so direct indirect method is there for the micropropagation. Now from callus also you can able to produce organs, and those organs can able to develop into the shoot or root, and you can able to develop embryos. So we are calling embryogenesis. So callus also can able to produce organs, and you can able to also produce embryos. Now if you are able to produce protoplast, now we have to understand what is protoplast. Protoplast is a plant cell which is without the cell wall. We know outside the uh, plasma membrane, plant cells they are having a cell wall. So if we will remove that cell wall, so plant cell will not be so much tough and rickety. It will be like a normal how animal cell is there, because animal cells don't have cell wall, and plant cells they are having cellulose and pectin and hemicellulose composed cell wall. So plant cell wall composition is different than the bacteria and fungi cell wall. So plant cell wall they are having cellulose, hemicellulose, and pectin. So if we will remove these cell wall using the mechanical and enzymatic methods, so we can able to get the protoplast. This protoplast can able to convert into the callus, and through callus we can able to produce many plants. So these protoblasts, they are also very useful for genetic engineering, for the gene transfer, and we can able to easily produce genetically modified plants. Okay, so from the aseptic explant, you can able to culture the callus, and from the callus, you can able to start the metabolites in isolation, and those metabolites can be utilized for the industrial purpose. Now, next term is subculture. When we are culturing the plant cells, and after 15 to 30 days, these plant cells you have to transfer into the fresh media. So this transferring the plant tissues and cells on the fresh media we are calling subculture. So subculture, it required time, and it is a time period when we are transferring the plant cells and tissues on the fresh media. It is very necessary because when we are culturing on the media, plant cells will utilize those nutrients and it will deplete in the media. So when media also can able to dry, because you are culturing so much long, 10 to 15 days, and the water will easily evaporate in the environment. So when water will evaporate, so media will able to dry it. So this dry media will not suitable for the plant's growth and tissue growth. So that what we have to do, we have to transfer our tissues and cells on the some fresh type of media. So this transfer only we are calling subculture. When we are transferring the tissues and cell into the fresh media, we are calling subculture. So in general, callus culture are subculture every 4 to 6 weeks. It depends on the type of culture. See, many type of callus is there, and every plant they are able to produce this callus. So this callus can able to produce, but we have to keep these callus cells into the fresh media every 4 to 6 weeks. Sorry. So theoretically, plant cells and tissue culture may be maintained indefinitely by serial subculturing. So again and again we can subculture it, and indefinitely we can able to subculture it. But if we will indefinitely subculture, there will be a problem. They can able to mutate very fast, and their characteristic cells characteristics will be changed. So we 4 to 5 times we can able to easily maintain the callus cells. But if you will do again and again, and if you will increase more and more time, their characteristics, somatic cells characters and genetic characteristics will be changed. Now, what type of cells we can able to culture in the plant tissue culture? So meristematic cells is there, and these meristematic cells is found in the shoot and root tip cells, and these undifferentiated cells can able to differentiate in any type of cell actually. They may be can able to transform into the leaf, they can able to transform into the stems, and they can able to create new type of but they can be part of the vascular tissues present in the stem of the plant. So these meristematic cells, they are dividing very fast, and when they will divide very fast, so they don't have any type of infection, and they are very potential when we are producing virus free plant or disease free plant or pest free plant, because only these type of cells, these meristematic type of cells, they don't have any type of infection. So you can get these meristematic cells from the shoot tip and root tip. Now, second type of cells is parenchymatous cells. This cells is present in the non-woody type of structure. And woody type of structure, they don't have these parenchymatous cells, and they are very thin-walled cells. Their cell wall is very thin, so this type of cells is very soft. So mostly it is present in into the non-woody type of tissues. Okay, and they can be induced to divide and differentiate in many type of cells. Now, type of tissue culture. So we know that we have organized culture. The culture of whole or part of the plant we can use is any part like a leaf portion you can able to culture, and you can able to culture cells also. So different type of culture is there, and on what type of explant we are culturing into the media, that name only we are calling. Suppose you are taking the axillary bud, then we are calling axillary culture. If you are taking terminal bud, then we are calling terminal culture. If you are culturing a seed culture, if you are taking a seed and then culture it on the media, artificial media, we are calling seed culture. If you are culturing embryos on an artificial media, then we are calling embryo culture. If you are taking ovary and culture it on the artificial media, then we are calling ovary culture. Same thing is with there with pollen culture. So the portion which we are taking and we are culturing on the artificial media, we are calling on that name. So different type of culture is there, and these culture techniques is depend on the what type of explant you are using. Now, these type of tissue is organized type of tissues. Like already you know what type of tissues is there. Like seed is there. Seed is having the defined characteristics. These defined characteristics is there in these type of tissue. That's why we are calling seeds. We can't able to call embryo as a seed, or ovary we can't able to call seed. Seed is having their own characteristics. That's why we are calling seed. And ovary is different, pollen is different, embryo is there. That's why they are organized type of culture. Now some cells or tissues which is unorganized, like callus, because their proper structure is not there and they are growing unorganized type of growth and development is there of the cells. So plant cells, when they are growing uncontrolled manner, like how tumor or cancerous tissues are growing. They don't have any type of perfect structure, like leaf and seeds and stems they are having. Same time, these callus don't have any perfect type of structure, and they are growing in unorganized manner. And then, so when we are culturing callus, when we are able to produce callus, and when we are culturing these callus tissue, we are calling callus culture. Now another term is there, cell suspension culture. Suppose you are having callus and you want to transfer on the liquid media callus, and you can culture it on the suspension culture, liquid media. When you will culture on the liquid media, these cells can able to suspend into the liquid media. And when these cells is suspended into the liquid media, and each cells can able to separate into the liquid media, and each cell can able to receive more they can able to receive they can able to get the more chemicals, because the cells is surrounded the liquid media. So we can use any plant tissue culture media or cell suspension culture. Just we should not have to add the agar, so it will not be solidified. So it will be in the liquid condition. So in liquid condition, when we are putting these callus tissues, so these callus tissues will be separated, the cells will be separated, and these separated cells we are culturing in the suspension culture. Then next is organogenesis. So when we are culturing cells and tissue, so from the cells and tissue using the phytohormones, we can able to generate organs. So this organ production we are calling organogenesis. Then somatic embryogenesis. Now somatic cells, if we are using to propagate, to produce the embryos, so this type of embryos we are calling somatic. Now these embryos having same type of characteristic of the cells which is we are taking from the somatic cells. So somatic cells in the laboratory condition we can able to use to produce the embryogenesis. So embryogenesis is from the somatic cells. That's why it is very important that we can able to produce a somatic embryogenesis in the laboratory also. And these somatic embryos can able to propagate as a entire plant. And protoplast culture also there, and we already discussed that protoplast is a cell wall less cell. a plant cell which is cell wall less. It is not surrounded by the cell wall. So it is just surrounded the plant cell which is just surrounded by the plasma membrane. And these plasma membrane surrounded cells is very good for the transformation purpose. When we are producing genetically modified plants, so we have to transfer the foreign DNA inside the plant cells or inside the chloroplast also we can able to transform. So that for this purpose we have to use the protoplast. So protoplast we utilize for the plant tissue culture. Now types of tissue culture. So the technique applied in the tissue culture is dependent on the what type of explant you are using. If you are using apical buds and apical bud culture, if you are using seeds as an explant, then it is seed explant. So basically, the plant tissue culture is dependent on the what type of explant you are going to use in the media. Now, technique mentioned, whatever technique we discuss is mainly used for propagation and multiplication. It is not solely for only one technique is there or two techniques is there. Many techniques is there, and you can able to generate your own techniques, and you can use your mind to propagate any type of plant using these all techniques. So limitation is not there. There is no limitation. You can use the technique for any type of plant material, and you can propagate and multiply these plants, and just you have to some factors you have to maintain in the laboratory condition, like environmental condition you have to maintain the chemical requirement of the plants and tissues, and you have to maintain the aseptic condition. So if you will maintain these three conditions in the laboratory, you can able to uh, you will get 100% successful rate. Then some other techniques also there in the plant tissue culture, like micrografting. So micrografting is there for the elimination of the viruses, and to root micro cuttings is there for the production of secondary metabolites. So when we are producing any virus-free plant, so what we have to do, we have to use the micrografting, and we can also use the meristematic cells from the shoot tip and the root tip. Then next, in vitro pollination also there. So in vitro pollination, we can able to pollinate these flower, and these flower can able to used to produce hybrid type of plant. So it is a basically the technique which can able to utilized by the plant breeders to produce the a specific type of characterized plants, and they can able to produce some specific characters, like high yielding plant, high flowering giving plant, and various commercial breeds we can able to develop using the in vitro pollination technique. Then in vitro fertilization also there, and using in vitro fertilization we can able to create new varieties, because when we can able to do in vitro fertilization, so two varieties genome we can able to mix, so that we can able to produce in vitro and new varieties using in vitro condition. Then what advantages is there of the plant tissue culture? Now, when we said a cell can able to produce millions type of same copy of the plants, or you can say the clone of the cell can able to produce many numbers of plants. So we can able to produce mass production of various plant species, and some plants which is very important for the medical purpose, because many plant species nowadays they are using in the Ayurveda, Humani, and allopathic also, and homeopathic also. So their compounds isolated from the plant, they can also be used in the allopathic also. So we have to culture those medicinal plants in the large scales, and when we are culturing those medicinal plants and ethnomedically important plants or ornamental important plants. So these plants be required in the large quantity, large numbers. So using plant tissue culture, we can able to produce these plants in the large number, and we can able to give to the farmers so they can be benefited. Now 6 million plants per year from the one explant we can able to produce. So from a single explant, we can able to produce 6 million plant per year, and it is a huge quantity a laboratory can able to produce. So much higher production rate we can achieve when if our facility is increased, and other asexual propagation method if we will use, so that a more large quantity also we can able to produce. This is the first advantage. Then next advantage is especially beneficial for the plant in high demand or valuable plant. Suppose an ornamentally important orchid is there, which is having very good potential for the market purpose. So if there that ornamental important orchid you can able to grow into the in vitro condition, and that ornamental important plant you can able to sell into the market. So you can earn more when you are propagating these plant into the laboratory, and you can openly sell into the market. So highly potential or especially financial benefit is there for the farmers and the researcher. Then plants that are slow or difficult to propagate into the natural environment, those type of plant you can easily grow in the laboratory condition, because you are controlling everything. Like if some plants they are going into the low temperature, so you have and you can reduce the temperature if plant is required low temperature. You can increase the temperature if plant can able to grow in the high temperature. So normally we are going to maintain low temperature like 24 to 26 ambient temperature, and this ambient temperature mostly all plant species can able to grow nicely. So the high altitude plants and ornamentally important plants also we can able to very easily grow into the laboratory condition. What type of environmental condition and media requirement is there of the plant tissues or cells we can able to give it, and these plant and tissues can able to produce in good number of plants. Then some endangered species also is there, and those endangered species of the plant we can able to easily grow in the laboratory condition. So if we will talk about the cost of the plant tissue culture, definitely cost of the plant tissue culture is there, but when we are talking about the endangered species and some more commercially important plant species, these commercially plant species and endangered species is very important for our environment and ecology. So if we will not see these high costing, we have to just propagate many as numbers, and then we can uh, plant into their natural environment, so that these endangered species can never be persist in their natural environment, and we will not lose our ecosystem. And nowadays ecosystem is degraded, and millions of hectares land is every year is degrading because unauthorized cutting of the plant material. So what we will do, we can use this in vitro condition, so that we can able to produce many plants, and we can transfer these plants into their natural habitat. The next advantage is production of pathogen-free plants. So we already discussed that when we are culturing the meristematic tissues and our cells, so that these meristematic tissues and cells can able to produce virus and disease-free plant or pathogen-free plant, because the meristematic cells and tissues they are disease-free, pathogen-free, or pest-free, and bacteria and fungi-free. So when we are taking the meristematic tissue and using in vitro condition, we can able to propagate into the disease-free plant. and these disease-free plant can be cheaply we can able to supply to the farmers, and they can be benefited greatly. Then germ plas preservation or conservation also we can do inside the laboratory when we are culturing the any type of plants and tissues or cells. So these tissues and cells we can able to preserve into the laboratory condition, like we can store these tissues and callus and cells into the liquid nitrogen, and they can be stored up to the 1,000 or 2,000 years. And just you have to take it out from the liquid nitrogen, and from the liquid nitrogen after that you have to thaw it in the up to the normal temperature, and then again you have to grow on the liquid media or solidified media, and just you have to check the viability and your plant will be okay to grow. So whenever you want you can take it out when you are required. So germ blast preservation is a very important technique where we can able to save the plants which is going to extinct from the earth, and we can able to produce enough germ blast, or we can save it into the laboratory condition. So DNA also we can able to extract it, and we can able to sequence it, and then we can save it into the various purpose. And in the past some seeds and we have to put into the conservation purpose, but seed is having problem that they are limited shelf life. So after some time these cells seeds will be died. Maybe it may be 6 months, or it may take 1 year, or 4 year or 5 year, but they will definitely die after some period. So what we have to do, we have to grow the seeds, and when it will grow to mature plant, then they can again able to produce seeds. Then those seeds we can able to save for the next period of time. So it will take time when again and again we are growing these seeds for the tissue for the preservation. So instead of that, what we will do, the seeds itself we can preserve inside the liquid nitrogen, so that what will happen, these seed can able to utilize for the uh, tissue culture purpose for in future. So we can overcome this shelf life problem, and uniformly we can able to characterize the variability or availability of these seeds. So tissues and other things that can able to easily cryopreserve or preserve inside the laboratory condition. Then next advantage is continuous year-round production. When we are seeing that many crop varieties and plant varieties be required throughout the years, and some plant variety they can't able to grow into the summer season, some plant variety they can't able to grow into the winter season. So we have different environmental condition, climatic condition is there. These climatic condition the particular plant can't able to grow. So we can able to use the climatic condition, and we can able to produce these climatic condition into the artificial laboratory, inside the laboratory, and your plant can able to grow unaffected by the climate. So these plant species we can able to get the fruits and vegetables and cereals and crops. So any type of plant we can able to produce plants and under the control environment. So just we have to use the control environment, and we can able to grow year around the production. We can get the all year the production. So many crop variety like brinjal and cauliflower is there, and tomatoes throughout the years we can able to get these year around production. The next advantage is propagated in controlled lab condition. When we are propagating cells and tissues into the laboratory controlled environment, so the ability to change specific condition to meet the needs of the particular plant, we can able to provide it. So when we are providing a special condition, and we are fulfilling the needs of the particular plant species, that plant species can able to easily grow into the lab control laboratory condition. So mainly we have to focus on the nutrient content of the plant, what type of nutrient media and condition it required. Then light and temperature also we have to provide so that they can able to grow in the natural how they are growing. So the natural, suppose a plant required 8 hours sunlight, so that 8 hours sunlight in the fluorescence light, as a fluorescence light we have to utilize inside the laboratory, and we have to provide 8 hour light so that the plant can able to grow nicely inside the uh, artificial condition. Now the original plant is not destroying when we are culturing a plant tissue culture. So just only small parts only we are utilizing as a explant. So you are not taking a entire plant, just a part of the plant you are taking, like a small portion of the leaf or a small portion of the apical bud you can take. You can take the axillary bud, or you can take the small portion of the stem or small portion of the root you can able to take. So when we are taking any part of the explant, your plant will be there in the nature. You are not destroying any part of, you are not destroying the entire plant, you are not destroying the entire any part of the plant. Just you are taking a small portion of the plant so that it can able to produce a entire plants or entire many type of plant you can able to produce. You can able to fuse with other type of species in the protoplast culture so that other type of species also can able to produce. So two different species hybrid also you can produce using in vitro protoplast culture or fusion technique, and many other experiment also you can do in using the in vitro plant tissue culture. So if you will see, this is a very great advantage when we are having less amount of life plant in the nature, because the many medicinal important plant they are in the endangered condition. So if we are utilizing the entire plant, then maybe one day your plant material will not be there in the jungle. So what we have to do, we have to take just a small portion, and using this plant tissue culture we are utilizing only small amount of plant cells, and so that mother cell will not be destroyed in this process. So it is a very important factors, and we are considering it's a right of the plant for the because every plant which is very important, it may be a rare and unusual type of plant in the nature, and so we have to preserve it into the nature. Now when we are talking about the advantages, there will be some disadvantages also there. So now we will talk about the disadvantages. So any specialized equipment required, we required many specialized equipment in the plant tissue culture, like laminar airflow cabinet is required. Using this laminar airflow bench, the plant tissue culture can able to transfer aseptically. So tissues, explant or subculture we can do inside the laminar flow cabinet, and we can overcome the uh, contamination problem when we are using this laminar airflow cabinet. But this laminar airflow cabinet is little bit costly because it is having HEPA filter, and HEPA filter is having some company specific, they are patented product, so it will be little bit costly. The next equipment, essential equipment is autoclave. Autoclave we can able to produce the sterile media, sterilization of the media. So when we are doing sterilization of media, the contamination risk of in the media, we are clearly overcome of this problem. So autoclave also very essential part of the plant tissue culture laboratory. Then water purification system we required, because when we are dissolving the plant media composition into the pure water, this pure water can able to utilize for the plant tissue culture very essentially. If you will not use purified water, then pH will be changed of the media, and unwanted nutrient or elements will be there in the unpurified type of water, and they will disturb the plant. So that's why water purification system should be very essential when we are doing plant tissue culture. Then glassware. So when we are doing plant tissue culture, glassware is very important because we already discussed glass item. For glass vessels we are using borosilicate, and these borosilicate glasswares is very helpful when we are giving heating in the autoclave and giving heating to kill the microbes present on the glasswares. If suppose you are not using the glass material or glasswares in the plant tissue culture, you can also use the cheap type of plastics. But these plastics you can't able to give direct heating. You can heat indirect heating in the autoclave, but these type of glassware can't able to give direct type of heating. So borosilicate is little bit costly, and so if you will talk about the cost of the plant tissue culture, it's little bit high, and culture media also it is coming little bit costly. So the cost of the plant tissue culture is little bit high. Then high labor cost is also a limiting factor. So we need a skilled labor for the plant tissue culture. Every person can't able to do plant tissue culture. That's why the skilled person always required into the plant tissue culture, and that skilled person can able to produce more and more plant material and plants, so that the output of the any laboratory will be justified. So when we will talk about the salary and of the skill purpose person, it will be very high. That's why the overall cost of the plant tissue culture output will be grow very high. Now contamination risk is there. When we are culturing on the plant tissue culture, the always contamination risk is there, because you are working in the environment, and this environment may have some spores of the fungi and bacteria, and they can able to go inside very easily if it will be disturbed. And when they will go inside the plant tissue culture, they can contaminate your culture, and your months of hard work will be waste. So maintenance of the aseptic condition or sterile condition is very difficult when you are culturing in large quantity of the plant tissue culture. So if the airborne culture or the rapidly grown fungi, they are very dangerous for the plant tissue culture, and they are the many plant tissue culture laboratory they are producing. They are having very difficult time when they have these type of airborne contamination into the media. Then next disadvantage is risk of mutation arising. Now, when we are culturing again and again, subculturing again and again, the plant tissues they can able to have mutation. So when they have mutation, their characteristics will be changed. So what we have to do when we are culturing uh, again and again, and when we are subculturing these plant cells and tissues again and again, we can restrict them to subculture only 2 or 3 times. So then we can able to overcome the mutation of the plant cells when we are again and again subculture, because artificial media or artificial environment we are providing. So these artificial media environment can induce mutation. So just we have to overcome by the restrict. We can restrict them to put only 5 to 6 times subculture. Then responses to tissue culture conditions also varies, like trial and error to determine optimum media or condition, because every plant required a optimum condition, and we don't know these optimum conditions for every plant. Now, factor affecting tissue cultures also, there are many factors we have to maintain into the in vitro condition, like temperature is there, and light condition is there, humidity is there, media condition is there, and these factors is affecting inside the tissue culture laboratory. So it may be mass production, whatever you will be your target, like mass production you want to do, breeding you want to do, or you can able to produce virus free plant. But these factors is affecting the plant tissue culture. So always you have to see the how and why, and these factors affect the growth and development of the plant tissue culture. Then the in vitro growth and development of a plant is determined by the number of factors. These factors can able to change the production rate of the plant tissue culture. So first factor is the genetic makeup of the plant. So if genetic makeup of the plant is poor, then it will be problematic for the tissues or cells which you are growing inside the laboratory condition. Then the growth of the plant tissue culture will be reduced. Then source of the explant also there, and the source of the explant if unhealthy and improper, then your growth of the tissue culture inside the tissue culture laboratory, the growth will be reduced. So always you have to choose the some very good quality explant so that it will give good result into the laboratory. Then nutrients always you have to choose according to what plant it is required. So a specific type of plants can be able to require a specific type of nutrient. So if you are providing efficient nutrient to the plant cells, they can able to grow nicely. Otherwise, these nutrient condition can able to reduce the growth of the plant. Okay, then some environmental factor also there, light, temperature, pH, oxygen and carbon dioxide concentration. If you are maintaining optimum concentration of light, temperature, pH, oxygen and carbon dioxide, the growth and development of the plant will be not affected by any factor. The genetic makeup of the plant also is very important. So we already talk about the genetic makeup, and if plant genetic makeup is not mutated and it is just a type of very good condition, so we can able to get the good good growth of the plant tissues in the laboratory condition. Then source of explant, if your source of explant is so young and so old, then the growth of the plant will be hampered. But when we are taking the explant, we always have to choose the not so young plant or not so old plant. Always in between we have to choose the explant, and then your tissues or cells can able to grow optimal. So type of explant also is having effect on issues. If you are taking from the a source which is old time, then it will hamper the growth of the plant. Then growth media also is having effect on the plant tissue culture, like a nutrient, plant hormone, vitamins. If you are using these nutrient, plant hormone, and vitamins in optimum condition or optimum concentration, the growth of the plant tissues will be maximum. Then environmental factors also affecting the plant tissue culture growth, like light intensity is there, photo period is there, temperature and stability of the plant is there. If you are not using this light intensity, photo period and temperature, the growth of the plant will be affected. So this is the how the plant tissue culture is there, and this is just an introduction. In the next coming up some classes, we will discuss in details. So thank you with us.